The grooming policy with the New York Yankees, does that really make a big difference? Carl Coulage for the Sports Hit List, by the fans and for the fans. I'd like to give a shout out to Greg Polius for getting 300 comments on one post about the New York Yankees. Greg, thank you for this segment today, for sparking something. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. Trying to stay cool. It's hot, man.
It's very hot, very hot. We have Charlie Baldy. Chuck pulled a triple header yesterday. Today he's pulling a double header on the Sports Hit List. Chuck, how you doing, man?
I'm a little annoyed because we got to take a half hour now to talk about a freaking grooming policy that makes absolutely no sense. So
blame Greg. That's Greg.
I know this is all Greg's fault because he hates the Yankees.
We have Jay Lex. Jay Lex in the building. You see him with Fitness with Jay Lex. He knows about all the kind of sports. I had some conversations, so I thought he'd be great for this panel. Jay, how you doing, bro?
I'm good. Hope everybody's doing well and staying cool. It's yeah. I'll just leave it at that. It's rough out there.
And we have Mr. Met himself, Chris Pichel. Chris, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. Can't wait to talk about the other team in New York.
All right, so let's cut to the chase. Let me read the quote real quick from Andrew McCutcheon. He said, and I quote, "I definitely do think it takes away from our individual as players and as people who express ourselves in different ways." That was Andrew McCutcheon, who played for the New York Yankees. He's talking about the grooming policy. The New York Yankees have had this grooming policy for 40 years now. And if you don't know what the rule is, pretty much they cannot have long hair. They have to be neatly shaven. Some players like it. Some players don't. Some fans accept the professionalism. Some don't. Greg, since this is your topic of interest, I give you the floor first. What's your opinion on the grooming policy of the New York Yankees?
All right. So first and foremost, the policy is foolish and outdated, right? Because it is not a corporate setting. It's a sports setting. How they look has no factor in how they play. Now, here's where I have the issue, because I don't care if they have the policy. It's their policy. If players choose to sign, that's their business because they know what they're signing up for. The issue comes in when players are traded or players are drafted, and like McCutcheon spoke about, have this individual sense, say they have locks, now they have to cut it because of this policy. When they were drafted or traded to this team they may not have wanted to play for. And I also have to say, and fans try to defend it by saying, oh, it's tradition. Just because it's tradition doesn't mean it's okay. We've had a lot of shitty traditions in this country that are not okay. But to say, and then they also centered it around winning. Just because, what does the grooming policy have to do with winning? So because they were professional looking, they won? Give me a break. That's probably one of the worst arguments that I've seen in the 300 plus comments.
Okay, so Chris, I had this conversation with you, and Chris stated it's tradition that they have 7 rings. Why change it? Chris, do you stand by those statements?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm the minority of Mets fans hating Yankees. I couldn't care less about the Yankees. I care about the 4 teams in my division much more than I do about the Yankees. If they win, I really don't care. I cared a lot when the Nationals won the World Series. I don't care when the Yankees win the World Series. But saying that, that's nor here nor there right now. But the grooming policy is what it is. Like Greg was saying, it's their policy. So, as long as the Yankees are going to be giving out $300+ million contracts, like they did to Garrett Cole, they're going to shave. They get it. But like you said, people are getting traded over. I mean, yes, it promotes individuality, but also think about it. You're part of a team sport. So if everybody looks the same way, it's kind of building that team uniform. You're being like a uniform. Like how everyone kind of has to wear the same uniform. That's the reason why they don't put the names on the back of the jerseys, is because you're part of the team. So that's the biggest thing right there, is that if you're like the one person that decides to grow your hair out or have mutton chops or whatever the heck it is, you have some individuality, but if you look around the entire locker room and you're that one guy, it kind of stands out, and it takes away from the team. And the team, which has won from Reggie Jackson all the way up to most recently Derek Jeter, it's kind of been doing it okay. And then, yes, one person, Andrew McCutcheon, is saying that it takes away individuality, but there has been hundreds of players over the years that's been fine with it because they get it, because they're the Yankees. They're the most famous brand in the world. They pay people. They look after people. They bring them back for Old Timers Day. They make them feel special. It's part of what the Yankees are.
Okay, Jay Lex, where do you stand on this debate about the grooming policy? Is it overrated, as Chuck is saying, wasting our time, or is it something that we should discuss about change?
I understand Greg's point that they're a sports team, but they're a $4 billion sports team. This is not, an independent league or something along those lines. They have always had the rules. I mean, Don Mattingly, one of the best Yankees of all time, was paying fines, back when George Steinbrenner was alive, because of that very reason. It is a rule that is instituted. Is it a stupid rule? 100%. It's outdated. It's one thing to say that you want, people to look neat and things of that nature. It's something else entirely for somebody to be traded and, they have to cut their dreadlocks. They, maybe they grew their beard out a little bit. The reality is, however, it's the same thing with tattoos, for instance. If you work in corporate America, it's silly. It's silly, but you still have to cover your tattoos if you work for a financial institution, if you work at a hospital or something along those lines. I mean, some of the rules have lifted a little bit, but you still, if you work for Bank of America or you work for Chase Bank, you can't walk into a short sleeve with a full sleeve tattoo with multiple colors. It's not considered professional, and they're paying you. It's a private organization. Do you remember back when Augusta National only let men in? And it was the worst rule. Like, people were like, oh, why wouldn't they let women in? It's stupid. But they're a private organization. They could set that rule, and we can sit here and say that it's outdated. But you're not going to go through litigation over it. You're not going to go to court over it. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to acquiesce, especially since they're paying you. I don't know what McCutcheon's contract was. They're paying you millions of dollars. So you can't have it all the ways that you want to. If you didn't want to play for the Yankees, just go home. You wouldn't get paid, and you could still keep your dreadlocks. You could still keep your beard and everything along those lines. It's a stupid rule, but unfortunately, big-time corporations are going to win that battle every time.
Chuck, do you still feel the same way after listening to the contributors and how they feel about it?
Yeah, I'm very indifferent on the rule, and I felt like I had to speak out on it because I'm a Yankee fan. And growing up, I always knew that every time a player got traded or signed with the Yankees, they had to cut their hair and shave their beard. When Johnny Damon signed with the Yankees, Johnny Damon had the long hair down to his shoulders, the full-on beard. He signed with the Yankees, and he got it all shaved off. Did he want to do it? Who the hell knows? Yes, Greg, I agree with you. It's an outdated rule. As Carl said, the rule was established back in the 70s. Now we're in 2020, so that's almost 50 years. But back to what Chris said, it kind of gives the team their identity in a way. Just like how the pinstripes are synonymous with the Yankees, the no names on the back of the jerseys are synonymous with the Yankees. Their clean facial, their no facial hair, clean look is synonymous with the Yankees. That's their brand. So while, yes, we could sit here and say it's stupid, it's just, that's what it is. That's their tradition, so to say. That's what they do. So, I mean, none of the other teams do it as far as I know. I know when Girardi went to the Marlins, or maybe it was Mattingly, he tried to incorporate it. I'm sure Girardi's going to try to do it with the Phillies this year. It's just a way of life for these guys. So while, yes, I agree with you, it's an outdated rule. It's stupid. I don't care if they keep it, they get rid of it. I don't care. Do I really need to see a player have a beard like Charlie Blackmon and have 12-year-olds in the stands wearing the fake beards? Who cares? But the Yankees are still going to sell and market it based on if their players have beards or not. So that's why I don't think the rule has ever changed, because they've never suffered financially from it.
And Chuck, to piggyback off what you just said, I said this to Greg too. You have enough players who don't like the rule. Wouldn't the rule change? Players are accepting of it. Wouldn't that necessarily make it, I guess, okay for them to have it? Not enough players are saying, you know what, I'm not going to play for the Yankees. And I know Greg gave a few examples of players who did not want to play, but have we seen enough players to stand up and say, you know what, I'm not going to sign on the dotted line with the Yankees because they tell me to shave?
Carl, before Chuck answers that, I would like to break down each one of their points.
Go right ahead, Greg.
So Chris mentioned that if one guy's, in the locker room has a beard, it takes away from the team aesthetic. To that I say, who cares? How you look does not determine how you win, because in your
okay, so yes. Hold on. So how many times do we see teams shave heads, go blonde hair, do all that stuff? And if all five of us or 4 out of 5 of us do it. We go blonde hair, but you're not doing it. Doesn't it take away from the morale of what we're doing?
Understand this, right? Because that happens all the time in the playoffs, and you have a section of people who do it, and you have a section of people who don't. It doesn't change the production level on the field. The example you gave directly correlated to them winning, and that is a false equivalency. You can't say how they look determines how they play. The Red Sox look like Grizzly Adams, a whole bunch of them, and they won World Series. They smoked the Yankees looking like that. It doesn't matter how you look. Now, this is not to say the rule needs to go or anything, but to equate it to winning makes no sense. And then Jay Lex, you said that, in corporate America, you have to cover your tattoos. I don't disagree with you. This isn't corporate America. When you walk into a bank, you are being judged. As much as it sucks, that's just the reality of it. People are judging you based on your appearance, and tattoos hold stigmas. People are not judging you on the baseball field because of how you look. They're judging you based on how you play. Nobody cares that Jason Worth had a beard down to his chest. It was Jason Worth producing for the Phillies. That was what mattered. And then Chuck, you.
Oh man, he's just coming for everyone.
Yeah.
First he went through Chris, then Jay
let him
Lex.
go, let him go.
Chuck, you're up. Chuck, you're on deck.
No, you're
I'm ready. I'm ready. Let me hear it.
We got rebuttals, though. We got rebuttals.
Go ahead.
And then Chuck, just kind of refresh me real quick. You had said about the whole rule is the camaraderie, right? Was that what you said?
No, I think that was Chris.
That was part of mine.
Okay, so I'm confused. What was there was one point that you made that I really wanted to touch on.
I don't know. I said I was indifferent about the rule. Who cares? I don't know. It's synonymous with their brand.
Yeah, okay, that right there. Synonymous with their brand. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I try.
The pinstripe, the no name, that is their brand, right? If you're telling me that if they lifted the rule and guys started growing their hair and having a beard, are people all of a sudden gonna forget the Yankee brand when it's there? The hat, the uni, it's all there. That won't change.
Well, no. Well, what I meant by that is that since the rule has been around for so long, and now for our generation, that's what we know about the Yankees. That's what's been instilled in us as we watch baseball. I mean, we learned from 4 or 5 years old. A player goes to the Yankees, they're getting a haircut and a shave right away because that's what the Yankees do. So I'm not saying that it's been part of their brand forever, but now looking at it from our generation, that's part of the Yankees brand now, right now, present day.
And then I had a follow-up question for you. The Cincinnati Reds also had this policy. They changed it in 2017. We don't even talk about it.
They're not the Yankees.
They're not the Yankees, though.
Right.
They're not the Yankees.
Right.
Once again.
But my point is, it was discussed
Middle
at a
America.
point
Sorry, Middle
when
America.
people went to the Reds, and now it is no longer discussed. Yes, they're not the Yankees, but the conversation has shifted away from it because they don't do it. So to say it's tradition doesn't necessarily mean it's right, because
Well, no, of course not.
Of course not. It
But
wasn't.
this is not one of those traditions that's necessarily wrong. It's just their policy. I mean, going clean shaven doesn't.
Can be outdated. We have this. If this country has showed us anything, is that policies at times, when times change, policies should change with the time.
So,
There's
Greg,
no
you're basically
reason.
saying that the policy should change. You're on the favor of that. They should get rid of
I
it.
don't care whether they have it or they don't, but if it was to change, I would think they should.
Okay,
Okay.
but you do
But-
realize that
hold on a second.
one of your things was the trade deadline acquisitions. Brian Cashman actually calls each player and says, "Is this going to be an issue?" That's why in 2000 there's a famous example of Brian Wilson that created the beard in 2000 whatever it was, saying like they were about to acquire him, and Cashman calls him and he's like, "I'm not pitching for you. I'm not shaving my beard," and the trade fell through because of that. So Andrew McCutchen, as much as he gave up, he wanted to do that because winning may be more to him than his own facial hair.
Okay,
So,
Jay Lex.
But listen to that though. Brian Wilson could have.
Hold on 1 second, Greg. Greg, I'm sorry to cut you off. Jay Lex had a point. I just wanted to get to
Yes. Here's the thing, though. We're kind of talking in circles here. The reality is, Once again, it is a stupid rule. I totally agree with you. But it's the same thing when the NBA instituted a dress code after the whole Malice in the Palace. Even though they're a sports team, they are still in corporate America. They have corporate sponsors.
And you know
they
what?
have to answer to people. And if those people, Yankees fans and those corporate sponsors, don't like the fact that guys are growing beards, you can talk about the Cincinnati.
And you know what, Jay Lex? I have to
Oh,
fact check that, but I believe that rule with the NBA was instituted because of Allen Iverson and the way he started dressing.
Allen
Yeah,
Iverson.
it was Allen Iverson.
Yes,
Allen
yes.
Iverson. And the other thing too is with the tattoos, Jay Lex with Allen Iverson, they had him wear a sleeve to protect one of his tattoos because it was inappropriate, and that's where the arm sleeve ban started because of Allen.
And
Iverson
then they did like an
culture.
airbrushing thing of his tattoos where like he was on a poster and they got rid of it. Yes. Yeah. But once again, you're talking about it is corporate America. They have to answer to corporate sponsors. And if those sponsors don't like, me having a beard as a Yankees player, I either don't play for the New York Yankees or I take the check and I cut my beard. It's one or the other. You can't have it. You can't have it both ways. It doesn't work for a private organization in corporate America.
Greg, would you turn down more money from the Yankees to shave, just to know that you had to shave? Would you turn down the most if the Yankees gave you the top offer? Would you shave your beard and mustache?
I would shave my beard and mustache, but if I had locks, I would not cut my locks. No, absolutely not.
Then
Greg,
you're not the New York Yankees.
What I want to touch on real quick about the Reds thing is that I don't think it gets brought up because we have seen players throughout history do more to become a Yankee. You know what I mean? Like the Yankees have that brand where if you sign with the Yankees, you're going to do something for the Yankees to sign you. You want to be a Yankee. You want to be that because of what they have for the past 100 of years. But you are right in saying that
Yankees because they wanted to get paid. That's what it comes down to.
I understand that. But how many times has a player either taken less or something just to be a Yankee?
I don't know how often that's happened, but I guarantee you players have taken more money from the Yankees than they've taken less because money matters.
Right,
yes.
no, of
and
course.
Once again, they're a private organization, and you can either not play for them and you don't take the money. Go play for the Cincinnati Reds. Go play for the San Diego Padres. But if you're going to play for the New York Yankees, as stupid as it is, and they're paying you $25 million a year, guess what? You're not going to have a beard. You can have a mustache, but you're not going to have a beard. You're not going to have long hair. Unless you want to go to them and basically say, look, I'm going to put a bunch of fine money aside. Here it is for the year, and I'll keep it. I can't imagine they're going to agree to that because now that changes. If you do it for one person, as stupid as it sounds, then everybody's going to be like, you know what? I want to grow a beard.
Go ahead, Chris, you had a point.
Sorry.
No, he actually just like covered it right there. It's just like even if you're making $500,000, like you do, and you know what you're getting yourself into, whether you get drafted or whatever. It's part of the deal. And I get the dreadlocks thing. If it's a heritage thing, like I 100% get it. But if it's not, then like you know what you're signing up for, and Cashman's calling you, and you get it.
I didn't know about the whole Cashman thing. That was new to me.
Yes, I mean I was reading it when I was doing research for today. This is the Brian Wilson story that in 2012 came out.
Yeah. Felix Hernandez also didn't want to play for the Yankees because they would make him shave his chin hair. But
yes,
my point with the whole Brian Wilson thing is, Brian Wilson literally could have helped him win the World Series. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
And you lost out on a player of his caliber at that time because of this policy. Does it really make sense to lose out on talent that can help you win? Can you imagine the Yankees with a Felix Hernandez in his prime?
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But I think that even though they haven't gotten a Felix Hernandez or a Brian Wilson, they have still went out and got a player to help them. They never had,
They have, but that doesn't, erase the fact that they could have gotten those better.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
But I believe that Tim Lincecum said that if the Yankees wanted to sign him, that he would have cut his hair. So
don't get me wrong. A lot of guys, when they're signed as free agents, they know what they're signing up for.
Right.
And like you said, like we kind of crossed our points a little bit, but people want to go to the Yankees for the allure, but they also want to go there because they pay. Like a team like Kansas City Royals can't sign high-profile free agents, so guys don't want to go there. They want to go to the big cities.
But I think but I think that's why they haven't changed the policy yet, because they have the money to keep the players happy.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
That doesn't take away from the outdatedness of the
Oh,
policy.
no.
Yeah,
Greg,
100%.
I think the five of us could all agree that it's an outdated policy.
Yeah, but it's the same
It's
thing.
not going to change because it's never hurt them financially.
If you're a school teacher, as an example, you can't show up to work unless it's like a field day or something, and Carl's Sonic shirt. You have to show up casual.
Yeah, you're talking to three school teachers. You have Chris. Chris is a teacher. Greg is a teacher. I'm a teacher. So you're talking to three school teachers.
So you can't show up to work and be like, in a pair of jeans and your Jordans and your favorite team's jersey. There's a dress code.
Well, if you work for the DOE,
you can argue that it's outdated, but you still have to be professional.
You know what, Jay Lex? There are a few times I did show up with a Yankee shirt. I guess on occasion, I guess I could be casual at my position. It doesn't necessarily have to be suit and tie. It could be casual, whatever that is. So sometimes I can show up if I really wanted to with a sweater and a t-shirt and some slacks.
But you couldn't show up. You couldn't show up in a pair of loose-fitting jeans and your sneakers, unless it was like something special or it was a casual Friday. It's the same policy that they have in an office.
Right. No, I got you.
But to Jeff's point, though, if you work for the private institution, not a public, you know what you're getting yourself into.
Exactly.
Right. Joe's in that path. I work for a private school that I have to wear a blazer and tie every day. It's horrible, but I do it.
Yes, exactly.
But Chris, do you feel like the policy's outdated?
No, because unless if it's affecting someone's like cultural identity, it's not really that big of a deal.
Okay.
Like why? Yeah.
Chuck, final points because we got to get to the NFL.
That's right.
Yeah, we got that on deck.
Greg, I agree with you. It's an outdated policy, and I think the problem with the people who correlated to winning, I think it's just because when they instituted the policy, the Yankees won in the 70s. They didn't really do much in the 80s. But then the 90s, they really took off. They haven't had the losing season since 92 or whatever. So I think that's why they incorporated with winning. I don't think they literally mean that because they're clean shaven that they magically become better. I just think that because of when the policy was instituted and they started winning, I think that's why they just combined the two, because that's just the way it happened. So that's what I got to say about that. But I agree with you. It's an outdated policy. I mean, at the end of the day, who really cares? Are we going to lose sleep over if a Yankee is going to cut his hair or not? But I do agree with Chris, though. I'm sure that before Brian Cashman goes to trade for a guy, they have this talk. And if a player says no, then I don't think Cashman is going to trade valuable assets or use a high draft pick in order to go sign or trade for a player if they're not going to follow protocol with the team.
And
Jay Lex, final thoughts? Go ahead, man.
Yes, and like I said before, if you, especially in terms of a trade, and I just learned about the Brian Cashman thing, if you don't want to cut your hair, just don't play for the Yankees. But understand, if you sign that contract and they're paying you 15, 25, whatever millions of dollars, it's corporate America. You're unfortunately going to have to follow the rules. It's stupid, but it's just the reality.
Chris, final thoughts?
It's part of their identity. You know what you're getting into, and unless it's affecting your cultural identity, your cultural heritage, it's not outdated. It's just the way they do things over in the Bronx. That's why they're the other New York sports team.
And Greg, final thoughts?
The last three guys basically spoke about tradition, to which I'm going to continue to say, just because it's tradition doesn't make it right. Doesn't mean you have to continue something that is actually outdated because it doesn't affect how guys play. So with my overarching point, I'm happy that 2/3 of the panel agree with me.
Right, gentlemen, thank you for joining me here on this special segment about grooming. I never thought I'd be having a segment about grooming on sports, but thank you guys for joining me. Please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. And you guys, I hope you're staying safe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you for joining me.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right.